show you some projects, specifically this one that Jen Schultz created, and we're going to use this die a little bit later in the video as well. So you can see how our new die, the Statue of Liberty, works really well with the downtown border, and she used new sentiment and a foiled background on this project. If I can get it to catch the light, you can see that that's foiled really pretty as well. So then she also added lots of detail to the Statue of Liberty. She put the water down here and added gel pen accents to kind of accent that as well. So that downtown border is free with a purchase of $75 or more. And that's from anywhere on the website, so it doesn't have to be just new release items. But then before I forget, I want to mention this companion product. So after we released the downtown border, we put out the downtown border underlay. So this is a solid underlay that follows the windows or the buildings, and so that you can easily get those windows whatever color that you want them to be. So instead of paper piecing the windows back into the die, or potentially cutting a bunch of small pieces and gluing them behind them, we have a die that will allow you to cut one piece that fits perfectly behind that downtown border. And you can see that's how Jen achieved the yellow lights in all of the buildings from that border. So the downtown border itself can be used alone, and you don't have to have this, but if you're getting this for free and you want to add this, I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that there was a companion product to allow for the lights in the buildings to be lit very easily. And we're going to use that a little bit later as well. Okay, so that is the promotion for this week, and it goes through Sunday or while supplies last. You're killing me, smalls or talls. Okay, I gotta highlight that comment. Thanks, Chris Dayton. She called me smalls, but I'm not very small, so we're changing that to you're killing me talls. I'll go with that. All right, so first up, let's talk about some of the new Foilet patterns. I think it was Carol who mentioned that is one of the things we did with this release, was look at some of our favorites from past 4th of July releases, and we've designed a Foilet pack that goes with it. So this is the new product. It's called Foilet Fireworks, and it features the design that was previously the background stamp in the Fireworks background stamp and stencil. So the stars here can be foiled. They're pre-printed in toner, and then you can use the coordinating stencils from this set. Perhaps you already have it. If not, here it is. The coordinating stencils will allow you to create those fireworks in whatever colors you want. So here Noriko created this set of really fun cards. You can see she used the, I believe it looks like silver shattered foil on this project. So it really catches the light nicely. You can see those stars pop out. And then she stenciled those fireworks in the blue and the red. So this is a product that Heather designed, actually I think a couple of years ago. This one might be from 2 years ago. Yeah, I think that sounds right. So you check your collection for the fireworks stamp and stencil, and then if you love to foil, add on those Foilet Fireworks panels. Now I did want to point out that Jen, when she created this card that I already showed you, she used one of the Foilet Fireworks panels in the background, but she didn't use the fireworks part or the stencil part. So it really creates a nice, pretty foiled backdrop for, your galaxy cards, or just a nice night sky look with those Foilet fireworks. So this is one that you don't necessarily have to have the additional stencil and stamp set for. So that's the fireworks. Now let's talk about another one. This is another one that Heather designed, and this was last year. So this collection is all built around this particular set that's called Starstruck. So we have offered now our Foilet Starstruck pre-printed toner panels so that those stars, the large stars, can be foiled in whatever color that you want. You can see this card that Heather made, and this one is, this is gold shatter foil, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Heather, that looks right to me, but it really creates beautiful stars, and then you can use those additional stencils that are part of the Starstruck Stamp Stencil and Clear set. Now this one, as I just said, is a stamp. The stamp is this. So if you're going to foil, you would just not use the stamp, you would use the foil panel instead. And then there are two stencil layers, one for the stars and one for these little pieces that kind of, I don't know, the fireworky type sprays out the side of the stars. And then there are also clear stamps. And the clear stamps in this set will allow you to fill in the centers of these large stars with a patterned star. So you can see Heather used those clear stamps inside the larger foil stars on this project. I also wanted to show you this one. Melody Ruppel created this one. It has just solid gold foil on it with the red and the blue in the stencil layers. Then she added some of our Little Bit stars. So that's another new product with this release. Just be aware that this Little Bit Stars was included in our Stamp Joy virtual goodie bag this spring. So if you came to Stamp Joy this spring, you already have Little Bit Stars. If you did not, you can now purchase that. So the Little Bit Stars are just incorporated into this background, and then she used one of our new sentiments with the Statue of Liberty in the center, kind of coming out of that sentiment. I thought I'd bring back one more to show you. This one was created last year using that stamp and stencil combo. So just another idea for red, white, and blue using that fun Starstruck set. And the other thing that you should know if you're loving these is that there is a set of Starstruck dies. So those stars, those outline stars, coordinate with the size and shape of the stars in the background stamp. So you can do fun shaker elements with the outlines, and of course there are extra stars to kind of place in and among the background where you want. All right, Heather confirmed it's the gold shattered glass. Beth loves that we're adding more foil cards. Well, Beth, you are gonna love one of our June releases then. I am so excited. So excited. It can't come fast enough. Actually, I'll take that back because time is just flying way too fast these days. The girls are going to be out of school next week, Wednesday. They have a half a day, and that's their last day of school for this year. Crazy. How did this happen? Okay, let's talk about the fun you see here. So you might remember this look from our Celebrate You card making kit that released back in March that had a birthday theme, but we wanted to follow that along with a foilet and a stamp in both the Happy 4th of July theme. So whether you pick up the stamp or the acetate foil panels, they are both useful in different ways, and the design team has done some really great samples here. So if you don't foil, the stamp is great. Even if you do foil, the stamp allows you to do some things that you can't do with the foilet panel. So let's talk about, I'll move these out of the way really quick, and let's talk about the foil panels first. So here are a couple of samples. Let's see, Heather, I should have known by the toffee card base, and then Noriko, yes, Noriko made that one. So both of them, one of the things you'll notice here, both of them use 3 different colors of foil on that acetate panel, which is a really fun and easy thing to do. You simply just cut your foil into a smaller strip and place it over each section of the words. I love that Noriko used that, it's called Shattered Stars, I think, or Silver Stars foil. Which adds to kind of the 4th of July look of this. Heather used the red, silver, and blue, so a really fun look. Then she's got the Ray's pierce and cut plate in the background, which I think is really cool. And she used our new clay stars, while Noriko used clay stars and our, what did we call these? Bits and pieces, stars and sprinkles. So here is what that looks like. These are our 2 new shaker mixes. The clay stars, as it says, are made out of clay. You can color these with alcohol markers. So we included all white just to allow you the option for these to be used for a lot of other occasions, not just the 4th of July. So if you do want them colored red, white, and blue, you can sure do that with your alcohol markers. And then this is just a really fun and festive mix that you can use for any 4th of July shaker card. So you'll be seeing lots of these in the projects today. Then I haven't talked about this one. Jill Hawkins created this. She used one of our acetate foil panels and one of our infinity shaker panels as well. So she simply placed that piece of acetate behind a frame and put the entire frame inside one of the infinity shaker panels. So those shaker bits and pieces go all the way to the outside edges. She used the fireworks stamp and stencil combo in the background, which I think provides a really fun backdrop without being too overwhelming to her sentiment. So, oh, yes. Oh, in Maryland, Rita says they don't get done with school until June 23rd. Wow. When do they go back to school? We're back to school like the last week of August, I think, maybe the 23rd or something like that. So it seems like, you know, only a couple months of summer, but it all goes by way too fast. All right, let's talk about the stamp then. So we do have a couple of fun samples using the stamp. Heather created this one and Melody this one. Both of them used one of our fun infinity shaker panels, and they both used the clay stars. We have the stars are, man, I can't get the name of that one right. Sprinkles? Stars and Sparkles. Okay, you'd think somebody else named the products, but it really is me, and I just can't get the name of that one straight. So the Stars and Sparkles and the clay stars, and then each of them inked that stamp in different colors. So on Melodies, you have the Happy and the July in the red and the 4th of in the blue, and then Heather took hers the traditional route of red, white, and blue, of course, on toffee cardstock. I do love using toffee cardstock in this instance, especially because that's how you can get the white color to pop off. Otherwise, a lot of times we're using silver or something else because white on white doesn't show up. So love the look of both of these, and the infinity shaker panels make it really fun. So I have shown you several cards so far that include, let me see if I can find a couple of them back again, that include a new cutting plate design. Super excited. Super excited to show you this. Noriko's here. I was trying to say, Charlie said, whoa, we have a celebrity joining us today. I'm assuming you're talking about Noriko. All right, so this is a fun concept that we will be continuing as the releases go on. The idea for this was to create a cutting plate that would allow you to mix and match your designs. So this is called the Mix and Match Stars and Stripes cutting plate. If I turn it over here, you can see it's actually 2 half cutting plate designs. And the reason why this came about, of course, is because for the 4th of July, we love to have our stars and stripes. And so we wanted half a cutting plate that was stars and half that was stripes. But I wanted it to be more versatile, so something that you could continue to use for birthdays or other occasions. And so I thought, why don't we just cut it in half? And then when you want to do a birthday card, you can use stars and stars, or you can use stripes and stripes. I have cut them out here because I wanted to show you what those look like. They are designed, once you cut them and piece them back together, to go around an A2 panel size. So that would be 4 by 5 1/4. So I have that piece of paper here, and if I lay these on top of it, we'll do stars on top and stripes on bottom. So there's what that would look like. If you want to use it in that way, you would adhere it to another piece of white cardstock. Then you could build your sentiment or your focal image. You could use your acetate panel. You could put your Starstruck stars inside. There are really so many endless opportunities. You can see this cool backdrop that was created. I think Jill did this one. Yes. It looks like a Jill card. It has sewing on it. And you can see the stripes that she incorporated into the whole backdrop of her design. I believe she pieced together our easy strips using white cardstock. Then she stenciled over the top with one of the masking stencils and placed those 2 half cutting plates over the top of the stenciled piece. Lots of cool masking going on in this card, but it looks very simple, very well thought out, but lots of different details incorporated in that one. So yes, I am super excited about this. We've already started our next designs to come out with this, and I think it'll be a fun way to continue to mix and match those patterns to get different, to achieve different looks for different occasions. So that's the Mix and Match Stars and Stripes cutting plate. Got just a couple more things and then we'll move on to creating. I gotta make sure I don't lose any of my pieces that I need to do my creating with. Oh, Cam's asking if I have an example of the stripes with stripes or stars with stars. I don't yet, but we will. Here, I'll show you. Well, I guess you can't really see, but there's a little bit what it would look like with stars and stars. Of course, you could do it in 2 different colors if you wanted to do that as well. So we will get on making some of those samples for other occasions like birthday and things like that. All right, so next up, one of the things that I always love to do for 4th of July, like I said, is make a product that's pretty simple to use, but creates a really impactful card. And for the 4th of July, the icon that is most recognizable for us here in the US is probably the Star-Spangled Banner. Well, we called this the Star-Spangled Banner. The most recognizable is probably the American flag. And so we created this beautiful flag stamp that we've named the Star-Spangled Banner that features the waving American flag. And it is all one stamp, so I'm going to give you some tips on how to ink that, because you want the blue of the stars and the red of the stripes. There is a separation line here, so my first tip would be to use mini ink cubes. If you don't have mini ink cubes though, I'm going to show you another way that you can ink this without having mini ink cubes. It is a larger stamp, so sometimes inking with a large ink pad is just a little bit easier. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, but I have cards. Do I not have a card using that? Well, good thing we're using it today because I have my own card that uses it, and you will see that here in a little bit. Okay, so then almost next to last, we have a new sentiment set following that fun font with the swirlies and the swashes. This is Land That I Love, includes Celebrate Freedom, God Bless America, Happy 4th of July, Land That I Love, Stars and Stripes Forever, and then the coordinating dies for those. If you want to pick the dies up, they're also called Land That I Love. We use those in lots of the projects. I'll just bring back a few of them so you can see. There's the Let's Celebrate. Actually, that's not. Never mind. That Let's Celebrate must be from the It's Your Day set and not the Land That I Love set. So here's Stars, Stripes Forever. Here's Land That I Love. Here's Celebrate Freedom. Happy 4th of July. So lots of different options for your 4th of July cards. Let's see, Christine's asking if the stamp would fit the top portion of a 5x7 calendar. I bet you're talking about this one. Typically, the 5x7 calendar is going to be 5 inches this direction, and it is designed to fit across an entire A2 horizontal, so it's 5.5. I think it's maybe even 5 3/4 inches long. So we do have all the measurements on our website, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 3/4. It's right between 5.5 and 5 3/4. So yes, that would fit all the way across your 5x7 calendar panel. All right, have I answered other questions? All these comments are going by fast for me today. Oh, Carol says, Land That I Love sentiment would be great for the card for my nail technician. That's a good one. Okay, now this I have sort of mentioned when we talked about our freebie for this month, but we do have the Statue of Liberty, and Jen created that beautiful card using the downtown border with the Statue of Liberty, which I have since lost in my giant messy pile of stuff. Here it is. There we go. So that's the Statue of Liberty die, and you'll note that on the bottom there is not a cut line, and that was intentional, and that's because you may want to make the Statue of Liberty taller or shorter depending on the height of your buildings. So the same is true for our downtown border. There is no bottom cut line, because if you're doing a vertical card, you might want to make the bottom part thicker. If you're doing a horizontal card, you might need to make it thinner. So there's no cut line so that you can decide the height that you want those buildings. And the same is true then with that Statue of Liberty. Now you will notice that the art teacher amongst us, Jen Schultz, created some beautiful shading on this Statue of Liberty die. So the actual die is just a solid shape die cut, but I encourage you to check out this shading and just without shame copy Jen's shading, because she is amazing. You can use your Copic markers. She used a couple, it looks like 2 to 3 colors. It looks like you could get away with 2. She added some white gel pen accent to the flame there, and I think it really just makes it look very realistic. Isn't that awesome? Okay, I think we are done. Do you guys have a favorite? I mean, we're not done. I'm gonna get my stuff out and we're gonna craft here, but I think I'm done with my rundown of all the new things. So I'd love to hear if you have a favorite of what we have brought for the 4th of July this year. Let me grab all my stuff. Has anybody started making plans, or do you have like annual plans that you always go to this place or always meet up with these people? Any of that going on? Sometimes we go to the lake. Sometimes we just grill out with family. Don't really have super plans yet. If you knew my life, then we usually make plans about July 2nd or 3rd for what we're doing on the 4th. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make a fun one layer. Well, it's not technically a one layer project, but we're going to layer a night sky with this Star-Spangled Banner background. I'm going to start with the paper here, and this is a 4 by 5 1/4. Actually, let's go ahead and put the stamp down, because I think it will be easier if I can pick that up, and now I can see the stamp that I'm using, and then I can place my card panel right where I want it, right about there. So I'm not going to go all the way to the top of the blue portion of the flag. I need to grab my tape runner, which I don't see here, so hold on just a second. I need my tape runner. Okay, I'm back. So I need a little bit of tape on the Misty here, and then I can just simply place that back side over, and it'll pick up my paper exactly where I want it to be. All right. I'm loving reading your guys' favorites. My favorites, Waving Flag and Statue of Liberty. Michelle loves all the stars. Deborah's going to the fireworks on the beach in Florida. That sounds fabulous. Colleen likes the Stars and Stripes die. Sally loves everything she didn't order. Well, Sally, I think we could remedy that. I'm interested to know, what did you order? If you already ordered, what stood out to you before you ever saw what I shared with you today? Okay, so we have this down and it's ready to go on our card panel. I can hold down that background now that I have it, or my paper, now that I have it exactly where I want it. Because my stamp does not go all the way around the edges, I can hold down that bottom part with the magnet just for a little bit of extra stability. You can never be too careful. And now I'm gonna get my inks. Today I'm gonna use blueberry for the top flag portion and cherry pop for the stripes. So as I said before, I'm going to show you how you can easily kind of mask this off so that you can use these large ink pads more easily. There is that edge here that has a separation point, so you can, if you're careful, get in the area without overlapping into the other colored area. But if you don't feel like being super careful, then grab your roll of Post-it removable labeling tape, tear off a little bit here, and we're just going to place that right over the blue portion of the stamp. Then we're going to use our Cherry Pop ink pad. Ooh, Louise is having a cookout at her house. And then Russ sets off fireworks. I want to come. I'm inviting myself to Louise's house for the 4th of July. Okay, so I didn't cover this little part up here, but there's a lot of space between there, so I can just be more careful. But this allows me to just go right over that area with my ink pad. Now here's the key. You have to remember to remove this before you stamp it. Did everybody catch that? If you don't remove it, then you're going to press down ink from whatever you have on your Post-it note onto your paper. And that's not what you want. Okay, so that looks really beautiful just like that. I think I'm going to leave it, but if I did want to ink it again, I could simply place that right back over the top and ink that area again. Now it is time to ink the blue part. We're not going to move our stamp at all because when I shut it, it's going to fall exactly in that open space where I want it to. So now I'm going to take 2 pieces of this removable tape. And we're going to use the blueberry ink then to ink the stars portion. Sally, you got all the foilets. Land That I Love combo. Plus things from last week's release. The new colors continue to be popular, so it's fun to see all of your creations as you guys get busy with those new colors too. Heather says, I may have forgotten to remove the mask before. It happens to all of us, quite honestly. I was kind of mocking up this project that I was going to do, and I was this close to doing that very thing myself, forgetting to take off the Post-it notes before you press it down. There it is, beautiful. Yes. Candy says, would we consider making a stamp where there are removable sections? I know other companies do that, and we have talked about exploring that. So I am aware of that, and I think it would be fun. All right, so here is that American flag all done. Like I said before, you could do this horizontally. You can see that that pattern goes all the way across. If you were to make a card front, like or a card base, you could do it that way as well. It would stretch all the way across the 5.5. Okay, hi Donna, glad you're here today. So before we put our stamp away, I want to make a quick mask. I am going to use this Inkadinkado stamping mask paper. It's one of my favorite mask papers. It's one of those supplies that's been around forever, and I don't think there's anything that I don't like about it, so I just keep using it. I have just a smaller piece that I'm going to stick down in here. I don't need to get my stamp completely inked back up again. Really, all I need is the bottom edge of this flag. So I'm just going to lightly ink that. And then we'll stamp, whoops, got to move it down a little bit. I need my whole flag to be on that mask, but let's see. Did I do it? That's good. Okay, so we'll place that down. Cindy, your life sounds interesting today. Trying to tame feral kittens, but then the bear came around? You have a bear? I'm scared. Actually, I've been watching this show on Disney Plus, I think it is. It's called Something Bit Me. If you guys haven't seen it, it is really an interesting show all about people who have had encounters with wild animals and polar bears and grizzly bears and whew. Anybody else seen it? I think it's pretty cool. I watched all of them. There was also a barracuda and crocodile and alligator. Okay, so now I'm just going to cut along the bottom edge of that flag. I don't want any white space, so I'm trying to follow as closely as I can along the line of that stamp so that I won't have any white space in between my stamp image and my background. So this kind of masking is what helps you create a one-layer card that looks really dimensional, but actually is just one layer. Oh my goodness. Cindy, I am just, where do you live that you have 7 different bears? I'm scared for you because now I've watched this Something Bit Me show and I feel like everyone who lives among the bears must be bitten. Okay, so we're gonna place this mask down and now we're gonna work on our night sky. Candy, I don't think mosquitoes count for you to be on the Something Bit Me show. I believe it has the kind of most, I don't know, normal thing. I saw people, one of the stories was about killer bees, a swarm of killer bees. And I have been stung by bees before, but certainly not in that crazy way with a swarm like that. Okay, so I have this leftover piece that I'm just going to put across the top because my mask wasn't quite long enough to cover that area, and I just don't want to get any of my ink up there. So better safe than sorry. I'm going to pull in a couple of new ink colors, not new ink colors, but different than what I've used so far. We're going to use Sprinkles, Eggplant, and then the blueberry that we used up here in this part. Cindy, Hudson Valley, New York. One is a mama with 2 cubs. I hope you are being so careful because every single story that I heard about people getting bit by bears or attacked by bears was because they had cubs with them and, you know, the mom is so protective. I think it would be so amazing to see a bear. I'd probably be scared out of my mind. I think I have to get over this Something Bit Me show a little bit longer before I go anywhere near anywhere that has bears. I perhaps made the mistake of allowing my kids to watch the show with me, and now they're convinced, you know, that if they go anywhere that has bears, that they're going to be attacked by a bear. Probably not the best show, but it was on Disney Plus. So I was like, this is good. This is for kids. All right, so yes, somebody asked what red did I use, and that was Cherry Pop. So I'm kind of filling in what's left of my card. The middle area I'm filling in with this Sprinkles color, which is eventually going to become the glow off of my downtown buildings. So now we're going to come in with, let's do blueberry next, and we're going to do a little bit darker color up here at the top. Now with these darker colors, I like to brush off quite a bit. I don't want to get it too dark right off the bat. I like to build up. Once you put down too much ink, you can't take it back. So with these more intense, darker colors, I will often take a couple of swipes off onto my placemat before I put it down onto my paper. And then when I'm ready to really build up the color, then I don't wipe off at all and I just go straight to my cardstock. And that gives me the darker, deeper dimension up here. Donna? My gosh. Donna says, I saw a bear by Pages from the Heart once, and Pages from the Heart is the store that I first started teaching at out in California near the mountains. I never even thought there could potentially be bears up there. So way long before Tailored Expressions, Pages from the Heart, I went in, I talked to Kathy, the owner, and I said, do you think I could teach some classes here? Here's some of my work. She let me come teach. That's where I got to know a lot of the crafters that hopefully still love Tailored Expressions today. All right, so we're adding a little bit of that purple. Now I've eliminated some of my light blue here at the bottom. I'm not sure yet exactly how much of that we're gonna see once we overlap the buildings, which is why I'm not going all the way to the bottom of my cardstock. I know that we're not gonna see that down there because I am gonna lay over the top the downtown border. All right, now I'm not sure if these are the exact colors that Jen used on her project that I showed you, but credit where credit is due. Jen makes beautiful backdrops. I love her night skies. So I followed what I kind of thought were her colors that she may have used: sprinkles, eggplant, and then the blueberry. You could also use blue corn. That's another good one. If you're unhappy with any of the spots, I actually just looked up into the camera and saw there's a little bit of a light spot right here. Sometimes you have to step away for a minute and then come back and look at it too. And the other thing about our ink colors is that after a little bit, they really blend together and saturate really nicely. So the walking away for 5 minutes could change this background so much, especially if there's one that you're not sure you love, or there's a spot that you think is too dark. Walk away for a few minutes and come back. And a lot of times I find that helps. And I either look at it differently, or the part that bothers me fades away as the ink kind of blends and melds into that cardstock. Okay, so I have a jar here of Copic Opaque White. I have to say a huge thank you. One of our wonderful customers during Stamp Joy heard me mention that I was unable to find the jars of Copic Opaque White anywhere. And so she, so wonderfully, the next time she ran across a jar of Copic Opaque White, she bought it and sent it to me. So we do sell this in the Tailored Expressions store. It's not in a jar. It looks like a little bit like nail polish. But during Stamp Joy, Heather actually shared why she loves this Copic Opaque White for splattering, because it provides just a lot more vibrant splatter than what you get with just plain re-inker. I have a little bit of water here that I am going to mix it with just to dilute it ever so slightly to allow it to splatter a little bit better. And then I'm going to take a huge step back and try to splatter without splattering on my new blazer or my countertops. But we're going to just splatter this background so that it looks a little bit like starry night. And I'm just tapping on my finger with the paintbrush until I feel happy with the amount of splatter. I think I feel pretty happy with that. I love how our discussion has turned to bears today. Candy, that sounds more, I'm reading your guys' comments, and Candy says, stop by my house and feed our animals by hand. Nothing dangerous, just wonderful birds. That sounds more my speed after I've seen people get their scalps ripped off by grizzly bears. So, on that note, in this great land that we live, oh, what happened? I'm not sure how that happened. So don't do what I did. Somehow when I put this down, it had, oh, that was from when I placed it over the top of my red inked background. So that's my fault. You guys would never do anything like that, right? You can see that little spot that I have right here where the red ink got outside of the lines. And I think I'm going to be able to help that with sand eraser. Once I get one of those, I can... Whitney, if you're listening right now and you want to bring me a sand eraser, I can try to erase my boo-boo. But here you can see the beautiful kind of night sky that we've created with those stars. Now I'm going to bring in the background. So this is, or the border. This is the downtown border that I cut from black cardstock. And then this is the downtown border underlay that I cut from the silver foil cardstock. I loved the silver lights behind this. Originally I tried yellow and it just seemed to fight a little bit with the red and the blue and all the night sky. So I went with the silver. I think it still looks like sparkling, glowing lights, especially when cut out of that foil. And we're just gonna adhere that down. I've got my tape runner. And we'll adhere this right over the top. Whoop. Or maybe it'd be easier to go this way. You can see that those solid spaces just fall in right behind the buildings. So when we flip this over, we'll see those beautiful shimmery silver lights behind or within the buildings. All right, she brought me this. Now the sand eraser is not a fix all everything. Red is a little bit more difficult color to get out, so we'll see if we can erase it away or not. It's not looking good. I love you guys giving me suggestions. Julianne says, cover the red spot with white Copic that you use for your splatters. So sometimes if your boo-boo is too big, the sand eraser doesn't completely cut it, but I feel pretty good about that. So if I hold it up, you can see that there's still that little bit there that would be easier to cover up now with the Copic opaque white if I wanted to do that. But I think for now, I feel better. At least it's not a big giant boo-boo. Okay, so then we have those buildings. We're going to place them down at the bottom of our card here. This is the one layer part of the card. So it is all one layer. Nothing is popped up because we use that masking paper. Now I'm going to use just regular adhesive to place this down. Kind of depends if you plan to mail your cards or perhaps you are going to pop up a different portion, which is the case for me. So I am going to pop up the entire panel onto my card base, which is why I didn't pop this up. And then I'm going to pop up my sentiment as well. So once you have that down, we can just cut off the sides of our downtown scene. What do you think? What do you think? Yes, white gel pen too. I always feel like though I can see it, like it's a little bit raised and then it's a little shiny when you put the Copic opaque white or the gel pen or those kind of things over it. So I like Sally's sentiment. It's personal, not perfect. It's a handmade card. So yes, perfection is overrated, Nancy says. All right, well, you guys got to see firsthand that I make mistakes too, and sometimes don't think about the fact that I have ink on the back of my Post-it note that I was actually trying to use to protect my card. Okay, so I did already cut out some sentiments before this, and we've got Let Freedom Ring, Stars and Stripes, Celebrate. I kind of wonder if I did this like I could cover up my boo-boo with a sentiment. Celebrate, let freedom ring, God bless America. So I could put my sentiments, something like that, and cover up my little mistake that way. Let me grab my card base. So I think I'm gonna go with Blueberry. If you guys have hung with me this long, then you are gonna be the first to know who was here last week for my Thursday live where I showed you this foam tape and asked you if it was something that you would be interested in. We had so many people say, yes, I would use that all the time. I need it. And here's what I used it for. So last week we had some larger panels, and when you want to pop up an entire panel, let's say on your card base, it works so nicely. This is a 1 inch by 3 inch foam tape. And you know when you want to pop things up, and sometimes if they're larger pieces, they get a little saggy in the center because you need that sturdiness of the foam tape all the way around the outside and in the center. So these large strips allow you to add a good amount of foam tape and pop up that entire panel to give it some sturdiness. You won't have your sagging middles, especially if you're sending it through the mail and it goes through that machine sorter and presses down the middle of your cardstock. It's also very easy to cut this, so if you do grab this roll, it is available now. If I forgot to say that, that's what you're the first to know, is that you can now get this. I wish every single product that we carried was easy to stock so quickly, but this one did come in yesterday and we're able to get it up on the website today. So I did mention in the last live that it's a little bit spendy, but if you calculate the amount of square inches or square yards that you get on this versus our other foam tape rolls, you get a lot more because these are wider and they're longer. So it is going to last you further. It depends to what you're using it for. If you're using it for just big panels like this, or if you're going to cut it apart. If you are going to cut it apart, I would suggest leaving it on the roll and using your scissors. You can just cut straight through it just like butter. So it's not going to get your scissors gunky as long as you leave it on the roll while you're cutting it. So it can be cut as well, but the main reason why I like it and what I use it for is to really give sturdiness and pop up entire larger panels onto your card bases or A2 panels. So the backing paper comes off really nicely and easily, even with my nails. Just like that. Grab the background here. Good question, Debbie. I forgot to answer or explain that one. So the foam tape is 1/16 inch. So that is I would say a normal pop. A normal amount of dimension is 1/16 inch. 1/8 inch is typically what people like to use if they're doing a shaker card. A 1/8 inch would be for shaker. 1/16 inch is just a normal pop, a normal pop-up. So if you have our foam strips, these little guys, which I have the black ones here, I'm going to use those to adhere my sentiments. If you have these, they are 1/8 inch. So this foam tape is half of that, 1/16 inch of a pop. So yes, great for mailing, true That's what Debbie says, and that is the case. 1/16 inch is a little bit easier to mail. All right, so we're going to use that black foam tape on the back of these black sentiments. These are mini strips sentiments that we released 2 years ago, I think, for the 4th of July. And I'm going to pop those up. Did I say celebrate Stars and Stripes, God Bless America? Something like that, I think. What do you call this foam tape? So we so creatively named it the 1x3 inch strips foam roll, I think. I think if you search foam roll on our website, or just even foam tape, you should be able to find that. I would say the roll itself is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'd say 6 or 7 inches wide. The core here in the middle is 3 inches, and then there's foam tape beyond that. So yes, it's not as big as our giant rolls of foam tape that have 36, or I'm sorry, that have, I think, 18 yards on them. Not quite as big as those. Those are like a pizza size. Okay. There's always a way to cover up your mistakes. And we're done. What do you guys think? This is something we could all do. Simple, easy, fun, fast, and impactful to continue using Carol's words. So hopefully you learned a tip or a trick or saw something that you want to try. Thank you, Charlie, for Charlie's got the link up there for that foam strip roll. And so you can check that out on the website. I officially have 1 minute before we are open here in the studio, so I am going to say farewell. Thank you for tuning in and having some fun with me today. Thanks for checking out our 4th of July products. And Heather is going to be here this Thursday, so back to Heather and Susan on Thursday Lives. So I can't wait to see what she's going to show you. It's always something awesome. Until next week, I will be here Tuesday, and we'll be launching our newest kit. It's the last Tuesday of May 31. So we'll see you then. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.